It's been nearly 20 years since the murder of world-famous fashion designer Gianni Versace. The style icon was gunned down on the front steps of his Miami Beach mansion, but there are still some unanswered questions. In a preview of tomorrow's 48 Hours, Richard Schlesinger takes us back to the crime scene to investigate Versace's killer, who also took the lives of 4 other people.
Do you remember where you were when you heard that Versace had been murdered?
Oh, I remember profoundly. I opened up my computer and it flashed before me that Gianni Versace had been murdered. I was stunned.
It's a real wow factor.
Project Runway's Tim Gunn says Versace's murder at the peak of his career was shocking news to everyone, especially in the fashion world. Charlie Rose interviewed Gianni Versace in 1994.
Why should anybody care about fashion?
Even the people who say they don't care, they care, I promise you.
On July 15, 1997, Versace was at his lavish Miami Beach retreat, Casa Casuarina. At the time, Carlos Noriega was a lieutenant with the Miami Beach Police Department.
On that particular morning, Gianni Versace decided to go over to the News Cafe, and it was on his return home, approaching the door, he was shot and killed.
Police were lucky. They got a break from Versace's friend, Lazzaro Quintana, who was at the mansion. He heard the shots.
Let's go get him.
And followed the gunman.
I yelled, "Why did you do this? Why did you do this?"
He stops right across here, and that's when he's pointing the gun at me.
The shooter went into this parking garage, and Lazzaro found a policeman.
So that's when I told the officer, I said, he's in there, go get him.
Lazzaro never saw the gunman's face, but he did see his clothes. Inside the garage, police discovered clothes that matched the description Lazzaro gave them. They were next to a stolen pickup truck, and inside were documents. The gunman had vanished, but now police had a name: Andrew Cunanan.
We consider Andrew Cunanan to be armed and to be extremely dangerous.
And as it turned out, Cunanan was already the focus of a nationwide manhunt. Michael Williams knew him.
Andrew was very pretentious, loud, always had to be the center of the party.
Cunanan was on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list, tied to 4 other murders before Versace. The first 2 were his friends.
We have what we typically call a spree killer.
Former FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole.
This wasn't a haphazard crime. Mr. Versace was targeted.
Richard Schlesinger joins us at the table. So we just heard in your piece he knew those first 2 victims. Was it ever determined if he knew Gianni Versace?
There are so many questions about this case still 20 years on. There are theories that he had to have known Versace because it was just, otherwise it'd just be too random.
Yeah.
Some of the police think he did, some of Versace's friends think he did, but other people very close to Versace said they never met, they never crossed paths.
Richard, you interviewed one of Andrew Cunanan's other victims for another 48 Hours piece. What did you learn about him?
He was an amazing guy. We were doing a story on gays in the military back in the 90s when Don't Ask, Don't Tell started, and we interviewed this guy, Jeff Trail. You see him here. Remarkable guy, Annapolis graduate, Gulf War vet, just terrific guy, very courageous. What was strange was when we were doing this story, we were talking to one of his friends, and his friend told me that at the same time we had met him, he had just met Andrew Cunanan.
Oh, wow.
What's the status of the Versace empire today?
It's being run by Donatella, his sister. One of the interesting things when we were talking to Tim Gunn about Versace's legacy is that designers still refer to him and find inspiration in him, which I thought, given clearly, as you can tell, I'm not much of a fashion maven, but I would have thought that they would have gone with more modern people. But there are very young designers who are still influenced by Versace.
He's a seminal mind.
20 years later, though, isn't that amazing?
He has a very distinct. He had a very distinct look that has not changed. Richard, good to see you.
Good to see you.
You can see Richard's full report. It's called Murder by Design tomorrow night at 10/9 Central, right here on CBS.